Which goal to choose, which map to use, and which way to follow? Those are the questions we are trying to answer in our life. And today in this presentation we will try to answer them, and hopefully we will answer them. We will start with pretty much basics. Which map we use? How do we decide which map to use? Well, our hearts and our intelligence are guiding us. Let's say you are in a city for the first time. You don't know that city. So which map will you use? Well, you have to answer yourself a couple of questions before that. What do you want to do? Or where do you need to go? What are your needs and wants? So where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And how do you want to get there? By bus, by bicycle, by subway, by train, by boat? And according to those answers, you will choose appropriate map. There are many maps of one town and all are right. On some maps, art museums, galleries are mapped. And on some other things are mapped, labeled, marked. You want to use appropriate map to get there. And how do you use that map? Well, you use your intelligence for that. You look around and you recognize environment. You see some form, pattern, and you recognize it. Oh, that form, that pattern presents a high hill. And you recognize form of a river or a stream. And you recognize another form, another pattern. Oh, those are houses. And then you try to find those forms, patterns on the map. They are presented on the map mostly in a symbolical form, and you try to find them there. First you want to find, let's say, the hill on the map. Oh, there are 3 hills on the map, so where am I? But I see also a river, and a river flows in the vicinity of this hill. That means I have to be somewhere here. And I see houses, and houses are here on the map, so that means I am here. Okay, I know where am I now. We use intelligence for that. Now, we have seen or we know that there are many right maps of one city, of one area. Those are different maps, but they are all right. They are not wrong. And then the question arises, do the wrong maps also exist? You might say, this is a stupid question, I know the answer. Yes, I know you know the answer, so why am I asking this question? I noticed that whenever someone speaks about spiritual things, people all of a sudden, as if something magical happens, they don't know anything. They're completely lost, and therefore we are getting there to the spiritual things step by step. So yes, the wrong map exists. Now, you might want to go to museums of arts and to galleries. But if you're looking on a map where stadiums, sport objects are marked, that would be a wrong map for you. If you want to go there by subway and you are looking on the map of the city, which was mapped for traveling by bicycle, that would be a wrong map for you also. As I have said, we choose our map according to our wishes and desires, and nectar which we want to taste there, the goals we want to achieve. And if you want to be lost, if that is your goal, if you don't want to achieve any other goal than to be lost, if you want to be confused, if you want to be in trouble, then the right map for you would be wrong map. What kind of map is that? That map could be a map of, let's say, another city. So maps are always connected with heart and intelligence. We will take a look now at intelligence. Let's say you are in Athens in Europe, and you have a map of Athens. But something is just not right. This map doesn't make sense. Maybe you don't know how to read map. That could be the thing. And maybe you have missed something. You have made a mistake in observation of the real world, houses and this and that, or you have missed something on the map. That is also possible. Or maybe you have the map of Athens, which are in United States, but you are in Europe. That could also be the thing, you see. And maybe you could have an old map of Athens, and if city has changed substantially, that would also explain why you cannot make sense out of that map. And why would you use that kind of map, a wrong map? Or why would you use a map if you cannot make sense out of it? Well, one answer could be because of your heart. Your desire for tasting one particular nectar could be so strong that you might lie to yourself, cover up the truth, which is, I am lost and I don't know where I am. But you are lying to yourself. No, this is right, this is right. Just continue straight on, straight on. I will make sense out of it. It will make sense. It would be better for you to do, if you can, stop and at least rethink everything. Think everything all over again. And why would you make a wrong map? Now, we answered ourselves why we use wrong map. And now we will take a look, why would we make a wrong map? Or why would you give someone wrong map? The answer is again the same. Because something is wrong with your heart and or with your intelligence. If someone gives you a wrong map, it's very possible that such a person wants to cheat you, to deceive you, take something from you, what otherwise you would not be willing to give him. At least he thinks so. And that's why he sets a trap for you. Now, the trap could be at the end, so everything might seem to be okay. So you might say to me, everything seems to be okay. Yes, I know that, but the trap is at the end. And if you would observe everything precisely, you could sense that something is not right. And if someone will tell you, did you see that? Did you see that? He's trying to cheat you, and you would reply, oh no, it's nothing. You don't understand. But at the end, you would see that it was something, and that person who warned you did understand. And another approach could be that someone gives you totally wrong map, and nothing makes sense to you. You are bumping into obstacles all the time, and then he or his friends come and they try to help you, and then they make money from you or whatever. They present themselves as nice persons. Oh, you have a problem? No problem, we will help you with that. But in reality, they are your enemies. And you think that they are your friends. And if a real friend would come along and tell you the truth, you would be angry with him. That happens very often. Now, the deceiver, he knows the real map, he knows the reality, and he in his mind, by the help of his intelligence, corrupts the real thing. And he wants to implant that wrong map into your mind. It is good to know that we have different maps. We can map objects, ideas, goals, wishes, behavior, feelings. All those things can be on our map, which is in our minds and hearts. Now, if we try to implant our map, which we find it right, to our children, that's called raising of children. If we are teaching someone, well, if we do that with older children or with someone who doesn't know something, that's called teaching. But if we are doing that for the purpose of taking over person's free will, that's called manipulation, and the deceiver wants to do that. How he does that? He gives you some proofs. He promises you some great nectar, and then your heart takes over your intelligence, and then you trust him. What did he actually do? On the map, there are some safe places, and he marked them, labeled them as dangerous places. Some of them or all of them. And on the map, there are some dangerous places too, and he marked, labeled them as safe places. What else he can do? Well, the maps are not only drawn, but we can also write the map in a form of words, using words. We can also tell the map. speak out the map. You are here, and you will get there and there if you go straight forward for 5 kilometers, and then at crossroads turn right, and at the fourth junction crossroads you turn left and continue for 20 kilometers. But if you take out one important data, one crossroads, then the person who is guided by you will get lost. Now, that a person will not get lost, you have to have correct intelligence, not a corrupted one. You don't want to mislead him. And he has to have some kind of intelligence too. When we are guiding someone, we have to give him enough information that he could follow the path. And if we don't give him enough information, he won't be able to follow the path, of course. In many cases, you give such a person more information than it's needed for him to follow the path. You do that because you want to be more surer that he will be able to follow the path correctly, that he will be able to follow the right path. And he will also feel more secure, more sure that he's following the right path. But if that information, which is not so vital, is altered, then the guided person also might get lost. I might say, on your left there will be fields of potato, and on your right fields of corn for 20 kilometers. But if I change that, if I say, on your left there will be woods, and on your right there will be woods also for 20 kilometers, but you will see fields and not forest, you might stop after 10 kilometers, or even before, and you might say to yourself, here is something wrong, I will not continue. And you will never ever reach the goal, the final destination. We have to realize that the map is only an approximation of reality. It doesn't contain all the information about the reality. I might not tell you that on your left there will be a belt of 2 kilometers of forest, but it doesn't mean that you are on the wrong path if you observe 2 kilometers of forest. But if there would be a wrong path with 2 kilometers of forest, I would have to tell you about that. That's what intelligence does. I might say that also in another way. I might say you, if you will follow the right path, you will see only fields of potato, no forest, no trees. If you will see forest for 2 kilometers, you are on the wrong path. That's what intelligence does. That is how it works. And now we will take a look how we do mapping. When we are young or when we are grown up, we observe the real world and we build ourselves maps in our minds. When we are little children, we look around, we observe, we explore. Oh, this is a room, and then we go to another place. Oh, this is another room. Oh, this is this object, that object. We are learning and we are mapping those things in a particular way in our minds. We arrange that data in our minds in a way which makes sense to us. That's very important to realize. Now, I have already mentioned that we don't map in our minds only objects, but also other things, ideas, behavior of others. We learn how to behave from others. And we also map ideas and characteristics, properties of objects. This is a metal. This is wood. It feels like this. It feels like that, and so on. If I throw this, it will fall down. If I do this, it will happen this and that. And it's very important what kind of information we are getting from the environment. If we got nonsense, the output, the result will also be nonsense. It's like in computer science. If you feed computer with nonsense, it will not produce sense. Garbage in, garbage out, they say. And there were also children who were raised by animals. And those children built themselves a map which was not a map of a man, but a map of an animal. They have accepted the behavior of the animals, their wishes, their goals, everything. Maybe they saw also some people, but they didn't identify themselves with the people because of one or another reason. We could take a look at media. because majority of today's children are being raised by media. What kind of information, ideas and wishes are they receiving? And today, majority of people have the same ideas, the same worldviews. Everything is the same, because the information they got from media was the same. And above that, also the problems they are facing in their life are very, very similar. Basically, they have the same problems because they have the same view on the world. Some people might say, well, majority of people would say, well, I was watching violent movies and this and that, but that didn't influence me. Let me give you an example that you will understand that issue. Media get their money also from commercials, and if you would ask the same people, do the commercials in any way influence you? They would reply to you, no, not really, no. So according to them, companies are paying huge amounts of money to media and they get nothing in return. Could that be true? Would a company pay millions of dollars for something which doesn't work? For commercials which don't influence people? Companies are also intelligent, you know. People who work in companies, CEOs, managers are intelligent. They know where to invest their money to get more money. They would never ever invest their money into something which does not produce money. So commercials do work, do influence the people. And so also violent behavior shown in media influence people. But in some people, the impact, influence of these commercials or violent behavior is greater. They embrace that more than the others do. That's true. But if we look all humanity as a whole, we are influenced by those things. So who is responsible for what kind of map is in our minds and hearts? Well, yes, media, society, parents, so-called educational system, but not only them. At the end, this is our responsibility. We are building our own maps. We decide what we want in our maps. You see, in our maps, in our minds, there are things which are important to us. There are things which give us pleasure, nectar. We have on our maps also things which are dangerous to us, and so on and so forth. So that's also our responsibility. If you like drinking beer, you will know more about the beer than a man or a woman who likes to drink wine, and so on and so forth. So we see once again, map is always an approximation of reality. It is not reality itself. People are forgetting that all the time. And what I find interesting is that in the minds, on the map in minds of majority of people, it is an idea that once the map is built, you cannot change it. You cannot change your nature, they say. But that's only one idea in their mind, and it might not be the right one. What I find interesting is that if you are in a city and you look on map and that map doesn't make sense to you, you normally don't say, well, something is wrong with the city, you see, it doesn't make sense. No, you usually say, something is wrong with my intelligence, I don't know how to read that map, or you say, this is a wrong map. But you practically never ever say, something is wrong with that city. But when you use your own map, which you have constructed, built in your life, and if life doesn't make sense anymore to you, you don't say, something is wrong with my map of life, of the world, but usually people say, something is wrong with the world. I cannot make sense out of it. Why would I live? But that's what I'm trying to tell you. If that happens to you, search for new information. There are different maps, search and you will find. And here I am, trying to tell you about the map which makes complete sense of everything. I would like to stress for one more time that our maps, our view on the world is not the reality, it's an approximation of that. And we are forgetting that all the time. Our observations might be wrong, and therefore also our maps might be wrong. You might see a lake in a desert and you might argue with me, there is a lake, let's go there. Surely there is a lake. But there isn't. that's only a reflection. There are ways how to check yourself, how to check your observations. Eyes sometimes lie. But we have different techniques how to check our observations. And similarly, as we build ourselves a map of the world which makes sense to us, so is science doing it. Science also observes things. If I throw a rock, a stone in air, it will fall down. And they describe that in mathematical way, using formulas. They describe their observation of reality in the form of formulas, laws, theories. But that is only a map, it is not a real thing. And map is always an approximation of reality. Scientists usually forget that. They know that, but they don't tell that to people. They might say, or they said, this is Newtonian mechanics, it is true. No, Newtonian mechanics is false. Every scientist knows that Newtonian mechanics is not the correct thing. It is an approximation, it is good enough for certain calculations, but it's not the real thing. Newtonian mechanics might be useful for describing our world, but it is not useful in describing electricity or very small things with dimensions comparable to molecules or atoms, or for describing objects which move with a speed that is comparable to the speed of light. For those things, we have made up, imagined, different kind of descriptions, different kind of mechanics, quantum mechanics, theory of relativity. In such cases, we don't use Newtonian mechanics. And above that, science or physics, which we are using today, is only one option, one possible view on the world out of many. There could be many physics, but we have invested our time, well, scientists have invested their time to develop such kind of physics. But there could be also other kind of physics. And some serious scientists are investigating possibilities how to describe the universe in another way. Because they know, if something doesn't make sense, or if something is not giving you the right results, then change the view on the world. And that's what I'm telling you. Now science, they also make wrong observations, which leads to wrong laws. Scientists had believed that the energy preserves itself. And they said, this is the law, energy preserves itself. But that was not the case. Then they found phenomena where energy didn't preserve itself. So they didn't know what is happening, what is going on. And then they figured it out that energy can transform itself into mass, and mass can transform itself into energy. And then they formulated another law of preservation of energy and mass. So they were wrong, but they are forgetting that all the time. They were wrong then, and it's very possible that they are also wrong now. But if you speak with some scientists, they might say, we know. Well, you know what you have observed, and you cannot know what you haven't observed yet. Scientists, as also a lot of other people, are prone to overestimate their capability of comprehension of their intelligence. So they might not understand things, but nevertheless they claim, we know that this is wrong. We have proven this, that this doesn't make sense to us, and this is wrong because we believe in reason and such kind of things. Now, if you don't know something, you can easily disprove anything. To illustrate the thing, we will take a look at a couple of maps. Those maps all represent the planet Earth. But they are made from different angles, from different views, for different purposes. They are different projections of sphere on a plane. Different methods were used to arrange observed data, and if you are not willing to listen about the methods, you could easily disprove the thing. You could prove it is completely wrong, although it isn't. So therefore, it's very important what kind of ideas we have about the spiritual world life also. If you are not prepared to listen how another intelligence, or let's say another scientist, has arranged data, you will very likely say to him, this is wrong and you are a fool. But wait a minute, maybe you are a fool because you cannot figure it out by yourself, and above that, you are not willing to listen. And maybe you don't want to listen because on your map, in your mind, is an idea that you are the smartest person. Maybe this particular map of the earth was made for one particular reason, purpose. So it is useful for something, and you will never know for what, because you are not prepared to listen. Now let's take a look at this map. We could easily disprove this map. What is this? Empty space in Europe? We don't observe that in nature. It is wrong, isn't it? And what about this map? There are 4 Antarcticas there. This is surely wrong, but it's not. And what about this one? On this one, Antarctica is huge. Greenland is comparable in size to Australia. This is wrong. In reality, Antarctica is not so big and Greenland is much smaller than Australia is. But then again, this map was not made to present areas correctly. This map has another purpose. This map is only a map and not reality. It preserves something and at the same time corrupts another thing. But if you have understanding of this map, that means that you can read it, interpret it, you can use it. Each map, each projection was made by scientists or an intelligent person for some purpose. And if you are not willing to listen what the maker of the map has to tell you about his projection, his arrangement of objects on his map, it could happen that you will miss something. You will lose something. So therefore I advise you, listen. And let me ask you this. How do you recognize a genius and how do you recognize a fool? How do you make distinction between them? You don't know? I have already told you. Listen. You listen to them. Take some time and listen to them. And if a genius is able to explain his ideas, his map to you in such a way that you, with your intelligence, could understand, then you will get the picture. His ideas, his map will make then sense to you, and you will say, that is brilliant. And if you cannot understand him, or if you refuse to understand him, you will say, I don't understand him, so that means he's fool. But it could be that he is genius, and you were not able to recognize him. And that's it. We are ready now to speak about spiritual things, about mapping of a spiritual world. Science and we both gain our knowledge through observation of things. We are building our own maps. But sometimes, when we cannot observe something, scientists and we receive knowledge from others, from other sources. They give us their map, their idea. And we cannot observe what is happening after our bodies stop functioning. So we have to get that information from someone, from some other source, who is giving us a map of a spiritual world. Now, many religions claim they have that knowledge. The question arises, how to test them? Are they all right? Are some religions wrong? We cannot test those things, so how to know who is telling us the truth and who not? It might be also that such a map of a spiritual world does not exist. So what should we do? Should we just believe, trust, have faith in one map? Or is there a way to test that, what it seems that cannot be tested? Well, I have told you, if you don't find a solution, change your view on the problem, and that's what we will do here. People like to say, this is not possible, or we cannot say which religion is right and which wrong. So everyone is right. We have come to the point where everyone can make his own religion. If he finds a couple of people, he can become a founder of a new religion. You imagine your own map of reality, of this world and of a spiritual world, and according to some people, according to the majority of states, since all religions are right, according to them, you are also right. Even though you know you are wrong, and that you are only a liar who is cheating people. The idea that all religions are right could be supported by the fact that there are many maps of one town and they are all right. But we have seen also that wrong maps exist. Some maps are right and some wrong. Again, we have come to the question, which one is right and which one is wrong? People often rephrase this question into, who can give me now the most nectar? Now, in this moment, in this life. What kind of nectar? Different kind. Maybe you don't want to hurt your parents. That's your nectar. If they are atheistic or scientific or religious minded, you go along. You don't want to hurt their feelings, and for that reason you claim that you are a believer in something, but you cannot give anyone some good intelligent argument. Your decision is based only on your heart wish and not on intelligence. And you actually believe a lie. You cheat them. You say, I will behave in such and such a way, and they will believe me. They will be satisfied, and that's what's important to me. You don't care so much if that belief, faith, is the right one or not. You don't care for the truth. You know that you don't have any good reasonable argument for your belief. So you know you are a liar, a nectar, a hypocrite, a deceiver, and sometimes such people want to deceive even themselves. They are trying to convince themselves that they do believe. Now, to believe means to trust, to have faith in something, and that means that you have tested that something. If you haven't tested the thing, that means your belief, trust, faith is fanatical one, a blind faith. You might also say, my ancestors believed that, and for that reason I believe that too. Well, which ancestors? You have many ancestors and they believed many different things. This argument of ancestors is hiding many things. First could be fear of losing something. If you would search for the truth, your family may renounce you, if you would come to the conclusion that they are on the wrong path. Maybe you would become a second-grade citizen. You would have to pay more taxes. You might lose your job, friends, family, health, and even life. And in other cases, such an argument hides proudness. My father, my mother, believe that, and therefore it is true. Why? Because I and my family, my country, we cannot be wrong. That's also a childish argument, a very bad one. Well, I was born into this religion, people also say. I have to believe this thing. And what if I was born in mafia family? Do I have to cheat you, steal your money, take away your life? How do you know that you have to stay in that religion? What you are actually saying is, all religions are right. That's fine, that's your opinion or your wish, but how can you know that? And some people, which are proud, say, I have asked God, energy, universe, force. That means actually demanded from him, her, it, to show itself, himself, herself, to me. And then one Buddhist knocked on my door, and that was a sign for me that the Buddhist faith is the right one. That's also a bad argument. Some other people also ask God, and Jehovah's Witnesses knock on their door. Or Roman Catholic, or Hindu, or shaman, or there is silence, nothing. Many people do the same thing and they receive different signs. But you are telling me that only yours is the right one? Why? The only reason I can find is that you think you are something special, that you are so powerful that even God, if exists, has to listen to you or wants to listen to you. You are God in your eyes. You are actually saying to me, I am right because I cannot be wrong. I am right because I'm right. That's proudness. Give me a real argument. I have already mentioned health. Many people believe that you cannot enjoy life to the fullest if you are not healthy. Therefore, they believe anyone who has enough intelligence to heal them if they have some disease. If that is science, they will trust, have faith in science. They will believe that wonder. That is a sign for them that science has the right map. And if science cannot heal them, they will seek elsewhere, in religions, for the cure. If they are healed by some ritual or religion, they believe that wonder sign. They believe, have trust in map of science or in map of some religion. Some people are cured by science, and in their eyes science is more powerful, has a greater knowledge than religions. But some people were left down by scientific medicine, and they found their cure in religions. In their eyes, their religion is the most intelligent, has the greatest power. And some people are not healed nor by science, nor by rituals, religions, and they might use the same argument for proving that there is not such a thing as a spiritual world or intelligence which would be higher than ours. What those people believe, trust, have faith in is backed up with some research, observation, exploration, and that's good. But how can you know that your observation is correct? What if the nectar, health, money, knowledge, beauty, power, worship of people, science or other religions are giving you, or which they didn't give you, could be compared with a candy? You might be happy and scream, "I have a candy, I have a candy, they have given me a candy." Yes, you have a candy, and you trust their map of the reality, material and spiritual world. But what if that map is the wrong one? What if they will take away from you some boring piece of metal, which means nothing to you? But in reality, that metal is the key of a strong room where someone has put a great treasure, the real, the sweetest nectar just for you, but you will lose it. Why? Because of one candy. Could it be like that? You cannot know. And similarly, if you didn't get your candy, you might be depressed. It's very likely that you will also miss the real treasure. But you want only candy. Only candy is in your mind and heart, and because of that you don't see the key which is in front of your eyes, and which leads to the real fortune. Some people also give an argument that they trust some religion, science, because it gives them the most detailed description of the spiritual world, and this world, or that they have the best methods which really work. That's not a criteria for the correctness of their map of the reality. If your religion has the most detailed map of the spiritual world, that means practically nothing. It can be a good bait, it can attract you, it serves as a motivation to get there, but it is useless as a proof, because you cannot test that. And if you argue that your religion has the most detailed map of this world, and therefore you trust it, that's also a bad argument for the correctness of your map. If I want to go from Washington to New York, I don't need to know or waste my time with listening to you what is in this house and that house, when this house was built, and what happened there. You could give me tera and tera and terabytes of data, but I need only 1 kilobyte of data. It is as if I would ask you for a map to go from Washington to New York, and you would give me billions of books and say to me, "It is somewhere there." That's not intelligent, and I would be lost. And similarly, on a map to the spiritual world should be only or mostly things which are related to the way which leads there. And regarding methods which really work, let me say this. If I want to go from Washington to New York, I don't need to know how to grow potato, how to make a spaceship, I don't need to know how to prepare the most delicious ice cream. And even though all these methods work, they are of no interest to me. There is an intelligence behind maps and methods which work. There is no doubt about that. But my question is there even a greater intelligence? And the answer is yes, there is. When we will start to knowing it, everything what is false will be revealed. Beliefs, religions which give you candies will be exposed as lying thieves. who are trying to take away everything from you. There is the way to know the truth. We will go there now. Once again, we are dealing with the map of spiritual world and how to get there. So it is necessary that the map contains also some information about this world, our starting point. On the map, we should have this world, the final destination, the spiritual world, and the way which leads there. In this world, it seems that everything works. Science works, meditation works, magic works, tantra works, yoga works, Buddhism works, rosary works, spiritual exercises of Jesuits work, shamanism works, drugs work, everything works. Quran also works. Majority of today's Muslims might say, our ancestors were defeated in a battle, and only with the power of the Almighty they could be defeated. This is a sign that Quran is telling us the truth, that the Almighty is on the side of Quran. So Islam also works. Everything works, only one thing does not work and doesn't make sense, and that is the Bible. When we look movies and we see someone with the Bible in hands, or if he quotes from the Bible, or if he says he believes in the Bible, you can be almost certain that with that person something is seriously wrong. If all people in the movie are corrupted, you can be almost certain that he is even more corrupted. And if people are in need and they are praying to the God of the Bible, you can also be sure that in the movie something very terrible will happen. And even myself, I have read the Bible, but I couldn't make sense out of it. God created us, and pretty much everything what we like to do, it's forbidden and we shouldn't be doing it. Well, that doesn't make sense to us, doesn't it? And God is good and all-powerful, but it seems to us that He doesn't help us. We have to suffer. That also doesn't make sense to us. Bible just doesn't make sense to us, and it doesn't work. Even apparitions of a spirit which calls himself Virgin Mary, Queen of the Heavens, or Jesus Christ, doesn't tell us practically anything about the Bible. A so-called Saint Dominic prayed to that kind of spirit. He wanted to strengthen faith in people, and a spirit who calls himself Virgin Mary gave him a rosary and was quiet about the Bible. Why? Maybe because the Bible doesn't work? Even so-called Christians are searching help in spiritual exercises, yoga, meditation, science, psychology, but not in the Bible. And even theologians who have studied the Bible don't make sense out of it. People who, according to themselves, have a direct contact with the Holy Ghost can also tell you that something is wrong with the Bible. Highly evolved spiritual persons who can heal people with a word don't tell us practically anything about the Bible. People who have direct contact with spirits, angels, gods, God, people who claim they are God, people who are very bright scientists, the most intelligent atheistic or religious minds, gurus, will confirm that what we already know. Bible is corrupted, it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't work. It is useless. And I was saying that too. And then I believed science, and I wanted to dedicate my life to science. And at university I was told what science really is. It's not nice feeling when you realize that you have been tricked, manipulated. If I would know what science really is, I would never ever study physics. But what could I do then? Even though I was hurt by that lie, I was lying to myself. It is nothing. It's not a big lie. How come it's nothing? It hurt me. But I went along. I needed money. And for that reason, you don't think about it, you cover up that up, and you lie to yourself and to others. Mysticism is pretty much the same. You are told some things when you are dependent enough from a nectar or drug. Mysticism is given to you. If you would know certain things before, you would never ever follow that path. And then there is the Bible. It's different. It makes no sense at the beginning, but deeper you go, more sense it has. And not only the Bible, but also the world and your life. And you don't need to hide anything. You don't need to stop thinking and lying as you have to do in science and mysticism. You are walking in truth. Science and mysticism attract people with lying wonders, which seemingly work, but they actually don't work, and people wonder what is wrong. But when the Bible starts changing your life, your heart, mind, when your nature is changed, that you can love even people who want to hurt you, well, that's a wonder, the real one. So, if you are open-minded enough, I invite you to join me to explore the Bible. You will realize that the Bible is truth and that it does make sense. And then you could ask yourself, how come no one told me about this? All these intelligent and highly evolved spiritual people and apparitions are saying basically that the Bible doesn't make sense and that it doesn't work, but it does. So how come? Well, I can find only two possible answers to that question. Either they don't know it, which means their intelligence is not the highest one. It is not of God, even though they might claim it is. If so, they are lying and you just cannot trust someone who lies you, don't you? And the second answer could be that they know about it, but they don't want to tell you about it because they wanted to protect you from the corrupted Bible. So they lied to you. Well, if that is their answer, they are admitting that whatever they have is inferior to the Bible. Their intelligence, their nectar, is much inferior to that one of the Bible. And for that reason, they were lying to you, because otherwise you would not follow them. Why would you trust someone who is covering up the clues anyway? Who is trying to cover up those things? Isn't that a criminal? And what is the crime? Well, cheating you and taking something of great value away from you. Now, what you have heard in your life about the Bible were only bad things. You were listening only to the persecution. If you are to judge right, you should listen also to the defense. And as we have seen in previous presentations, your life is dependent on your worldview, on your judgment, and no one should hide from you important clues which could affect your decision, judgment. Even if you are buying only a car, you do wisely if you test it. And if someone warns you that the seller is trying to cheat you, you do wisely if you checked his claims. It is not nice feeling if you have paid 2 years' salary for the car which breaks down the next day. But here we are speaking about your life, which is much more important than any car, and I'm trying to warn you that you have been cheated. But if you will listen to me and check my claims or not, that's up to you. You have right to be cheated and deceived if you want to be cheated and deceived, but you also have right not to be cheated, and the choice is yours. So be well, till next time, bye bye.